health, family, and lifestyle so we can tailor their portfolio to their specific needs. Our goal is to help them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Sounds like a big responsibility. You must make big commissions then, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We have one single transparent fee that's structured so we do better when our clients do better. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you are switching to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
The Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and online at WGNSradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Welcome in. It's a Wednesday here on the Roundtable on WGNS. Glad to have you with us. Chip Walters here from the Blue Raider Network and Exit Realty, Bob Lamb and Associates. And the Blue Raider Network part is getting closer all the time. Had our first Blue Raider Blitz stop last night in Nashville. Had a really nice crowd there. We're in Smyrna today at lunchtime. Tomorrow, Franklin and Manchester, and then Cedar Glade Brews here after work on Friday, 5:30 to 7. And you can go on GoBlueRaiders.com and get you, if you want to make reservations to where you can make for sure that you get some food and beverages. So that is all coming up this week. Glad to have you with us today, and got an old friend coming on with us today, Pat Warner, who is a vice president with Finn Partners in Nashville. And Finn Partners is, you might remember, if the name Siegenthaler rings a bell, that is Finn Partners is a national entity that Siegenthaler is part of, as well as Divan Mall. Lawrence and Erickson was one of the original great public relations and marketing firms in Nashville. And Pat joins us today. We're going to be talking about public relations, marketing, crisis communications, and he's been involved in a good bit of all of that. And so how are things are you in the capital city this morning?
Yes, in the Gulch. Good news is it's early enough the transportation vehicles won't be rolling by and interrupting us, but typically the windows start rattling in the afternoon and hear a lot of Taylor Swift and Shania Twain.
What's the most annoying? What about the one that has the hot tub in the back, or which one makes the most noise?
They're all pretty equal. I try not to look, to be quite honest, because you never know what you're going to see. So it is kind of fun when you're on a Zoom call or something, and you hear some thumping, and you have to explain, that's not my stereo. That's actually down the street. Yeah, a block or two away. Yeah, so and here they come. Anyway, Pat's background from Tullahoma, went to Middle Tennessee, graduated in Mass Comm, and took that. And launched a television career that went through Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and then from there transitioned into the corporate world, and eventually wound his way back to Nashville, and the couple of big topics we're going to talk about later in a couple of segments. Number one, Pat was with Waffle House for a long time, and there was he handled a lot of things there in corporate communications and public relations and VP of culture while he was there, and also in his job with Finn Partners was working daily with metropolitan government during the COVID pandemic. And that's, to kind of talk a little bit about that, we're going to jump in a minute, but kind of wanted to jump in here early and kind of talk about public relations in general and marketing, and sometimes there's a blurred line in between those, and how do you all see it? And for folks who are in business, whether you're a one-man band or a major corporation, you always need to make sure that your public relations and marketing are on point. Yeah, you're right. I think now, especially with social media, marketing and PR are almost, interchangeable.
And that's how we're a public relations firm, but we also have marketing elements and work with a lot of clients. And typically we sit in the PR realm, but obviously marketing is always involved, especially when it comes to social media. And really the way companies are, sometimes social media is housed in their PR department, sometimes it's housed in their marketing department. Sometimes it's housed in the legal department, which is not a good idea. But each company kind of how they focus on social media, and then that's really the big driver nowadays. Is whether it's a crisis or anything, it's usually coming from social media first. So that's really kind of how it comes together. But it really depends on the company what they're trying to do. So some companies are marketing heavy. At Waffle House, we were PR heavy. We didn't do a lot of traditional marketing. We relied a lot on social media and word of mouth and things like that. So it really depends on how the organization's set up.
Yeah. And see, how long have you been with Finn now?
Started in December of 2019, right?
Okay.
Right before the pandemic.
Yeah. And the thing is, even in that short amount of time, how the world has changed. Number one, the pandemic changed a lot of things, but and I don't know, were you all using the social media phrase as much in 2019 as you are in 2023, and especially now that you have new platforms like Threads and TikTok that weren't even around then?
Yeah, I think before the pandemic, social media was a big focus on most organizations just because of its impact. And we've seen that, play out no matter what the platform is. So I think going into the pandemic, it was a big focus for a lot of organizations. But I think you're right. Afterwards, there's a lot of things that have changed after the pandemic. Whether it's we're talking over Zoom now. I mean,
yeah, that's right.
I didn't know what Zoom was before the pandemic. So.
And it's and one thing in that I think Zoom may be the one unintended consequence that's been something that everybody wants to keep around for a while, or these type of platforms, whether it's Zoom or StreamYard or whatever it might be. But it's that part has definitely changed the world and cut down on live meetings and all that kind of stuff. But it is indeed an interesting world and again a fine line. And do you guys coach like business owners and things like that, or to when they want to just kind of start from ground zero? How do you all evaluate if you talk to a client and try to evaluate what their needs are, whether it is going to be more PR heavy or more marketing heavy, things like that?
Yeah, a lot of times we'll be brought in with especially newer clients or newer businesses, and really go through that strategy session of a lot of times folks will come to the table thinking, hey, we need to really be heavy into social media. But then when you kind of peel the onion back and see what their objectives are, it might be more important to have traditional advertising or something else. So I think that's really key, is that really getting to know what the objective is, then making the plan around that versus having a plan and trying to fit in what you're doing. And a lot of times that's a lot of our conversations with our clients on strategy. We'll sit down and just have a deep dive in what exactly are you trying to do. Mm-hmm. An exercise we like to do, especially with new clients, is we just have them tell us about your organization, and then we go and we survey the people who work at that organization and see what they say about the organization, and then also talk to their stakeholders, see what they're saying about the organization, and when you put it all up and look at it, it's pretty amazing how a lot of times leadership thinks one way, but the rank and file might be thinking of something else, or stakeholders are thinking of the organization in a different way, and that's kind of a lot of what we do, and I did that a lot at Waffle House. That was fun to do with the senior leaders. Because I would always I worked with a lot of the folks who ran the restaurants, and they're in the restaurants all the time, which is great. But I would have to caution them, as like, the experience you're seeing, because you're you're an executive vice president coming into a restaurant. The experience you're seeing is much different than the customer at 2 a.m.
That's right,
because they knew you were coming.
That's right, and that's exactly right, because I mean we've all worked in jobs. Oh, the big bosses are coming in today, so everything is spit shined and ready to go. Where it's not as you said, someone who comes in and at 2 a.m. and might be a little bit hard to deal with, and sometimes you've got to handle those those situations.
One time I had a
that's crisis communication on a grassroots level,
exactly,
right there.
Yes, crisis communication isn't just about media; it's about everybody you talk to. One time I was down in Orange Beach. We were down there for a trip, and I came in the night before, and we were going to hit some restaurants. And so that night I was tired, so I just went to Waffle House to eat dinner and sat at the high counter, and they were cleaning. And I was like, wow, what's going on? They're like, oh, we have these idiots coming in from our corporate office, and my boss said we had to get this thing cleaned up before tomorrow morning. So I never did tell them that I was that idiot from the corporate office.
But you did show up the next day.
I did show up the next day, and the restaurant looked great.
That's good. Well, and if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. But when you survey a boss of an organization, a head of an organization, and the folks who work for them, and then you also, I would imagine, you survey their customer base and figure out, okay, how do they see that organization as well? And have, without naming names, were there some corporate company owners that were surprised at what the research was and how they were perceived by the public?
Yeah, surprised. I mean, I think the good leaders want to know. The good leaders want to know and know how it is. The ones on the margins are the ones that are going to argue with you and tell you that's not right. They're telling you raw stuff. But I think one of the great things that I've been able to witness and look at is a lot of different leadership styles and leaders. And I think the commonality of the really good ones, they understand. They take the feedback and work with it. They're not, they kind of check their ego. They all have an ego. I'm not going to say they don't, but they all kind of check it. And you probably see that too in your line of work of, folks, the good leaders listen.
Yeah, well, exactly. And, I'm my own, my own business in my real estate business. And so I have to figure out how am I going to market, my business and my service, and obviously the easiest way to do it is through social media, because typically it's free. And so what do you say? Because here we are in this listening area, you've got a ton of folks who are self-employed that whether they're in real estate or whatever they may be. When you all counsel businesses about best practices on social media, what are 2 or 3 bullet points you try to tell them as far as how much, how do you need to separate your personal life from your business life online and things like that?
Yeah, I think that the latter one is key. Is don't make if you're a small business owner, don't make your Facebook page the business Facebook page. There's a lot of things you can step in on that. But I think the frequency and what to post, I think that just depends on the business and the audience. I mean, there's some audiences that want to hear from you all the time. There's some audiences that a few times they want. I think one of the keys is use a social media to drive your messaging, but also if there's a way you can set up that core group of customers, whether it's a newsletter, it could be an app, it could be whatever, where you build that audience, then you deliver a lot of the content to them. A lot of good companies work that on the app. It could be a newsletter, things like that. I think getting those core folks that you can give messages to more often, they will also turn into your advocates for you. And when you kind of cross that bridge, that's gold, because now you have people, third-party validators, talking what a great company or organization you are.
Yeah.
And I think that's key. So I think, each social media platform's different, and each audience is different, demographic wise. So you just have to kind of look at that to see what's the best way. A lot of companies will just blast everything on every platform, and it works sometimes, but sometimes you want to cater, because your Facebook audience is looking for something different than your Instagram audience, or we're still learning Threads, which is, got Threads, Truth, Twitter, a lot of them out there. And I think the other thing is try not to be everything to everyone, and pick the platforms that work best for that resonate with your customers. Because it doesn't make sense, sending out messages and you're pitching and nobody's catching.
If I'm targeting 50-plus-year-olds, I don't need to be on Snapchat. So
exactly.
And again, we are trying to figure out where Threads figures in here, and is it going to be in addition to Twitter, or is it going to hurt Twitter? And we'll just have to see.
Exactly. And the other one, especially for a small to mid business owner, or any business or organization leader, really have a strong LinkedIn presence. That's usually
I need to work on my LinkedIn.
Yeah, usually that's not talking straight to your customers. That might be with your vendors or B2B folks. And I will say, when we jump over and start talking more about public relations and all, that's where reporters go to a lot, to research companies, or if you're going to do an interview, they're going to look at your LinkedIn page.
Yeah.
So it's good to kind of have that up, and positive things. And then also remember, LinkedIn's about business. Don't be posting about your dogs and kids and all that. Have some quality business posts on LinkedIn. So when they go research you, they will do that. And also another thing is, people, when they're applying for your company, they're going to look at the LinkedIn page and look at the people who are there.
And your social medias too,
your social media, exactly. And
behave yourself.
Right. And it's it flips. When you're applying for the job, they're going to look at your LinkedIn. That's what I tell folks coming in. I have a teenage daughter. I'm like, be careful. The internet's forever. Be careful what you post. I know. Just be careful what you post.
Yep, exactly.
You never know.
Yep. Pat Warner is our guest today from Finn Partners. We're going to dive into a couple of real-world situations he's dealt with in his public relations career. That's coming up next here on the Wednesday Roundtable on WGNS.
Broadcasting from the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios, MTE serves members with more than just electricity. Their community outreach team works with schools, parents, and students to provide engaging and unique learning experiences. MTE serving to make life better since 1936.
Hey guys, if you've noticed a lack of energy, motivation, and drive, it could be low T. Schedule your health assessment at Low T Center, where they now offer the convenience of monitored self-inject at-home testosterone treatments for only $155 a month cash pay, or covered by most health insurance. If you don't live near a Low T Center or just need the convenience of at-home treatment, Low T Center makes it easy to get started on treatment. Only your first 2 visits are in person. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book online. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare. TCAT has a brand new course.
I'm going to be an emergency medical technician.
For future emergency medical technicians.
Thanks to TCAT, I'm going to become an EMT.
It's a 300-hour program that can be completed in about 4 months.
I'm becoming an EMT.
The new program at the Tennessee College of Applied Technology paves the pathway for you to become an EMT.
I'll be an EMT.
You can learn the skills to become the next EMT through the new TCAT program in Murfreesboro.
I appreciate TCAT.
Visit tcatmurfreesboro.edu and click programs.
Looking for a charming home close to downtown and MTSU? Look no further than this 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 0-lot line at 1341 Sharon Court. This home features a spacious living room, an open kitchen, and a primary suite on the main floor. It could be perfect for a family or a couple who wants to live in the middle of everything while still in a private neighborhood. Call for a showing today, 615-542-1915. I'm Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates.
It's Good Neighbor Events Brought to you by Cardinal Realty Solutions, the law offices of John Day, and AmeriCare Pest Control.
Let the experts at Cardinal Realty Solutions help you with your Middle Tennessee real estate needs.
Cardinal went over the process, so we knew what to expect.
Find a realtor you can trust.
They made it less stressful.
At CardinalRealtySolutions.com.
Get pharmacy services with a cherry on top from Reeves Sane, Murfreesboro's hometown pharmacy since 1980 at 1801 Memorial Boulevard and at reeves-sane.com.
The WGNS Good Neighbor events. Take your kids to the local Discovery Centre Tuesday through Saturday between 10 and 2 for Investigation Station. The investigations cover everything from water propulsion to ice cream making. Cars and coffee. You'll see everything from Lamborghinis and Bugattis to hot rods and Hondas. The next Cars and Coffee is on August the 5th at the Nashville Superspeedway, directly off of I-840. With a closer look at what's happening around Rutherford County, here is WGNS's Jessica Yamaguchi.
The Parkinson Support Group meets at 10 o'clock, July 21st at the St. Clair Street Senior Center. The local center is at 325 St. Clair Street in Murfreesboro. Again, Parkinson Support Group meets on Friday, the 21st at the St. Clair Street Senior Center. On Sunday, July the 16th, the Cripple Creek Cloggers will begin their series of free classes between 4:30 and 6. The Cripple Creek Clogger classes will be at the Smyrna Senior Center at 100 Rake Street on the 16th, the 23rd and August 13th. It's free and a great way to exercise and to meet new friends. Don't forget, the Taste of Rutherford is coming up, July the 22nd. Get with Main Street Murfreesboro for tickets or more information. For your Good Neighbor station, I'm Jessica Yamaguchi.
Good Neighbor weather. We'll see sunny skies here for this afternoon with a high in the low 90s. Winds out of the southwest of 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, partly cloudy, a low near 72. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS.
Currently, it's 71.
Do you suffer from peripheral neuropathy in your hands or feet, burning pain, balance problems, and decreased quality of life? Magnolia Medical Center can help.
This is Dr. David Morris with Magnolia Medical Center. We're in the Ascend building near the fountains in Murfreesboro.
Online at magnoliamedicalcenters.com.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
Wednesday Roundtable for today. Pat Warner of Finn Partners joins us talking public relations, marketing, and crisis communications. Next week, Dave Gober is here. We'll be talking movies and mortgages. And then the following week, Keel Hunt, political insider, just before the proposed special session. Well, that'll be on the 26th of July. He'll join us and always has great insights on the politics of our state. Now, as we mentioned, Pat has been, as all of us have had a couple of stops in our career, and one very fortuitous stop was in Atlanta, Georgia, where you worked for the Waffle House Corporation. You weren't slinging eggs, but
no, thank goodness.
But you worked in the public relations area, and you had several different titles. But I remember one Sunday morning, I wake up and I have a text from you that said, I'm on my way to Nashville, watch the news. And in your role working in crisis communications, what I didn't know at the time until I turned my TV on was you were on a flight out of Atlanta because there'd been the shooting at the Waffle House in Antioch. Kind of take us through a little TikTok of that and how you all handled the first few hours of what was a real tragedy.
Sure. Waffle House, obviously 24-hour restaurants, things happen all the time. So we had a pretty solid crisis response team. And I led the communications for that for probably about 18 of my 20 years there. So we had a good system down. And so it was the Saturday night before, my daughter was in a play at her high school. So we had all relatives in town, had a late night, go to bed. get a call from the senior vice president who's here in Nashville probably at 3:30.
Wow.
3:30 local time, 4:30 Atlanta time, saying, "Hey, I'm heading to the restaurant. I heard there was a shooting. We think there's a fatality." Okay. So 5 minutes later, he's driving in and he calls back and says, unfortunately, I think we have an associate who was one of the victims. So per our protocols, I woke up the CEO. That's when that's when you wake him up, and told him what was going on. And as I was talking to him, got another update that it was multiple fatalities, and he immediately said, "Let's go to the airport. We're getting up there. Alert the team." And so got the executive vice president over operations for Nashville. He lived in Atlanta. Woke him up. Woke our security director up. Woke up somebody from HR. We had a protocol on who responds to these things. So we all head to the airport. But one of the big things I learned at Waffle House, and they preach it all the time, no matter what, it's rule one: show up.
Mm-hmm.
Just get there, no matter what it is. Get there, and then you figure out what's going on. Show up. So Waffle House prides itself on that. So that's why there's no hesitation. Let's get to the airport. Get there. On the way to the airport, I got a call from Fox News asking for a statement.
Not Fox Nashville, Fox News.
Fox News New York. So I kind of gave a holding statement of what we call, look into it, or it's a tragic day. Then smartly, I know I was going to be on the plane. I went ahead and posted something to the Waffle House Twitter account and Facebook, just basically saying, please pray for the Waffle House family. It's a tragic day. Boom. Luckily, that gave all the media outlets something to report on, because the key in crisis management is, especially now, back when you and I were in school, there wasn't a 24-hour news cycle.
No.
And so now you have to be responding as it's happening. You can't wait to get all the details, because typically the first two stories are the ones that are reposted everywhere. So I knew it was key to get that out. So we get on a plane, get up here. We were at the airport got to the restaurant. The restaurant's not far from B&A. Got to the restaurant at 7:30 that morning.
Wow. After your first call came at 4:30 your time. So
correct.
Basically 8 hours or 4 hours.
Yes.
From the time that you got a call till
Yeah, we were standing there. Still, the crime scene was obviously still fresh, and then when we found all the tragic details, there was actually 4 people, and just started, hearing what was happening. So our local team got all the associates who were working that night. Obviously, they were all traumatized. We got them to one of the associates' house was nearby, so we got them all to that house. Our HR folks took over. They got over there to take care of them, because obviously they were very upset and just very traumatic. So we initially got their resources for them, make sure they were able to contact all their family, let them know, because by then it was all over the news. Key is for their families to be reassured, hey, we're safe, we're here. So we had a team take care of that. It was an active manhunt, I think, going on
right
during that. Finding out more and more of the details of the victims. That's when we first heard about the heroics of James Shaw. Just what an incredible young man he is, and what he did, and and just really kind of reunited with he and I were never at the college together, but worked closely with Don Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of worked with Don, because he was putting information out
for Metro Police. Yeah.
For Metro Police.
For folks who don't know Don. Yeah.
Yeah. Middle Tennessee guy. And then later that day, there was a press conference at the police precinct, and they invited our CEO to speak, so we went to go do that, and that's when the first time I got to meet James Shaw. Just really an emotional time, because we got to hear his story. He was still, like I said, just what an amazing young man. What all he did, he saved many lives that day, and I think that has come out what he did, because from when it first started to when James Shaw tackled the guy, it was less than 2 minutes. I mean, it was amazing. So we did that. Flew back to Atlanta. Well, we did the press conference, and that was carried. Everybody carried it live. I was getting texts from not only you but other friends asking, "Are you there? What's going on?" One of the things I didn't realize at the time was the impact on my family, because we're in an active, because we're in a crisis mode. You're kind of focused on it. When I got back home that night, got time to kind of readjust and let it all sink in. And then we were back. We got back on planes and got back the next morning, and we're here. And the next day met with all the families, and that was very, very emotional and very, very tough. But we wanted to meet all the families, and they opened their homes to us. And from that day on, I've created a close bond with all those families. We're still in touch, even to this day, and stay close to them and James Shaw. So it's just, our philosophy is, we didn't think about how it was going to play in the media. We didn't think about any of that. It was like, we just have to do the right thing. What do we need to do?
Well, and I think because of that, the what came away to the public was that Waffle House was caring, and came off from a public perception that Waffle House was doing the right things and what was needed at the time.
Yeah, and I think this is people throw around company culture, and that's a really testament to Waffle House. 20 years there, I saw that over and over again. It was always about the people. And, fortunately, Waffle House is a private company and they're family owned, so they can make those decisions of, let's do the right things for the people, and let everything follow where it happens. I was kind of put in charge of working with all the families and our associates, and, you rarely hear this from the CEO. He's like, "Don't talk to legal and don't talk to accounting. Do what you need to do."
Wow, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. And so from then on, that's what we did, and really took care of what we needed to take care of. One of the big questions is, when do you when and if do you reopen? And I know it was Mayor Briley at the time and some other council members approached us and like, we want to open as quickly as possible, because we don't want this to be what Antioch's known for, and Waffle House obviously has a reputation for opening up quickly after natural disasters. So we talked about it internally, and so the first thing we did was we talked to the families and got their input. We talked to the associates, got their input, and then the decision was made to open 4 days later. But again, a testament to the leadership of Waffle House. They pledged for the first month 100% of sales, not profits, but the top line number. 100% of that was going to go to the families, and that created a good problem, because we actually had to bring folks in. We had to treat it like a hurricane. We had to bring teams in from out of state, because once the word got out, everybody was coming there to eat, to raise, because they knew all the money was going to the families. And so for 30 days, that restaurant was just packed 24 hours a day. And so we actually had to bring in additional resources. One, because the local team, they were hurting too. So we didn't want them to, we wanted them to have as much time as they needed. And two, once the word got out, it was crazy. Lined up, and people came in to eat. there. So
yeah, it's never a happy ending to that story, but it I think shows what crisis management and crisis communications, how if it's handled the right way, can certainly work it out. You touched on it, and kind of real quick, talk a little bit about the hurricane response and the Waffle House rating.
The Waffle House Index, yeah.
The Waffle House Index.
So, actually, that was a big part of my time at Waffle House too, and it continues. I'm actually speaking at a conference in Miami about it at the end of this month. So that the Waffle House Index rides on. It became a thing when Craig Fugate, he was actually the head of emergency management in Florida, and he kind of used it as a joke. He would tell his people, when you go to the hurricane, if the Waffle House is open, keep driving. If the Waffle House is open on a generator, that there's power out there, keep driving. Go to the area where the Waffle House is closed and start working there. Then when he was up for FEMA director, that came out in his hearings, and it just took off. We never, used it as a marketing tool. It was something that we always did. It's pretty impressive, and
something organic like that's always the best.
It is the best. And actually, then FEMA reached out to us, and I called it the Waffle House speaking tour. Like I say, it continues. I go around, me and another person at Waffle House who's on the Waffle House hurricane team. We were going to speak. One time, FEMA invited us up to speak at a conference with other companies. And so we were up at FEMA headquarters in Washington, and we're getting ready to talk. And I looked over, and there was a picture of President Obama standing at the podium I was standing at. And I looked at Will, who was my boss at the time, and he was also on the team. I was like, what the expletive deleted are we doing here? I mean, we're just some guys, we talk about bacon and eggs, and we're up here talking to these companies about response. But so FEMA kind of used it too to kind of, which is fine. Hey, if Waffle House can do this, so we were kind of like the poster children for emergency preparedness.
And you had,
and still are.
Yeah, and Pat had numerous appearances on CNN, the Weather Channel, and much more, talking about the Waffle House Index with different hurricanes. Need to get a break in? Go ahead.
I was going to say that's one of the things we did, kind of leverage it. And this was the early days of Skype, and I'll tell that story of when the hurricane was coming, we'd set up the Waffle House war room.
Yeah, and did you wear the paper hat at the time?
No, but I had my
your badge
name tag on. Yeah.
All right, we'll take a timeout, and we'll switch from the Waffle House tragedy in Antioch to Pat's role in getting communication out during COVID. When we return after this, you're on the Wednesday Roundtable here on WGNS.
We're talking with Pat Wingo at Adams Place.
My son's researched, I think, 9 places, and it kept coming back here.
So your son said, Mom, this is it.
Oh, hands down, I'd say Adams Place. It's 5-star rated in Tennessee, and they live up to that rating. I'm thankful to be here.
Hi, this is Terry Deal at Adams Place. Call me for more information about Adams Place, located at 1927 Memorial Boulevard, across from Walmart.
It's a Slick Pig barbecue, spicy wings and Brunswick stew, everything made fresh for you at the Slick Pig barbecue. There's lean smoked turkey and chicken too, ribs so tender don't need to chew. Well, come on folks, I'm telling you, it's a Slick Pig barbecue. In 1920 East Main, you're gonna love the pig.
The Slick Pig barbecue, a Murfreesboro tradition.
Here at Bud's Tire, we make buying Michelin tires simpler. I'm Allison Mitchell with Bud's Tire Pros. We offer a straightforward approach to service, including nationwide warranties with every purchase. Stop in today to see our full lineup of Michelin and BF Goodrich tires. For whatever you drive, Michelin and BF Goodrich have a tire to fit any need. Bud's Tire Pros, hassle-free, guaranteed. We're located on East Main Street, exactly 3 miles from the town square, 1 mile past Rutherford Boulevard. Visit us online at budstireprostn.com.
Blast into big July fun all summer long. You won't need sparklers, spinners, Roman candles, or any other fancy fireworks. you'll be rocketing toward explosive top prizes of up to $500,000 with the all-new July Instant Games from the Tennessee Lottery. Hurry in and pick out your favorites today. Find them at your nearest Tennessee Lottery retailer. Only from the Tennessee Lottery. Game-changing fun. Please play responsibly.
Premier 6 Theater on Broad in Jackson Heights.
Let's all go to the movies.
Check out what's showing at murfreesboromovies.com. Popcorn popped fresh daily.
Movies at the good old premises.
Premier 6 on Broad in Jackson Heights.
Del Walmsley and the Wealth Cycle.
This is the wealth cycle that I've taught for 30 years. Buy one house, 10 houses, an apartment, 2 apartments, 8, 20, 500 units, 1,000 units, 2,000, 5,000 units. And as you keep putting the money and the profits back in, you become one of those rich people. And much quicker than you'd even believe.
Learn Del's Wealth Cycle at GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. Use promo code 2023. Save 60%. Code 2023. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
Welcome back in for our final segment today. Pat Warner, Vice President at Finn Partners, public relations and marketing firm in Nashville, join us. We've been talking crisis communications. We kind of went through something that was very sudden and came on very quickly, which was the Antioch Waffle House shooting that Pat was the point man on that. And another that you were a little more behind the scenes, but this was once that you moved back to Nashville and was working with Finn Partners, and you Metro government retained the services of Finn to help with the response of COVID and the daily updates that happened. If folks remember, and we all do, that the Nashville mayor, John Cooper, would have his daily updates, and then sometimes he was there, but most of the time Dr. Alex Jahanger was there, and someone that you became very close with, and he I think he kind of became the face of Nashville's response. And talk about how you all handled that and to craft the message that was going out on a daily basis.
Yeah, that really kind of came on sudden. We were called in by Butch and the Spirit in the CVC to help Alex. Alex kind of reached out once he became Dr. Janger. He was the head of the Metro Health Board. He was on that, and so when COVID came out, the mayor asked him to lead the task force, and Alex agreed, and then after I think 2 press conferences, and he realized he needed some communication support. So I remember getting a call. It was March 15th, 2020. It's like, hey, we have this meeting downtown to talk about this. We weren't even called a pandemic. Well, this COVID-19.
Yeah, and down at the time, the SEC tournament was going on at Bridgestone Arena. You had all kinds of folks in town, and that's where Butch Spiriton, who just retired, was heavily involved in that. So, right. I mean, and I have to believe that we all were thinking at the time, okay, this is 2 weeks, a month, 6 weeks, maybe on the outside, and who knew?
Yeah, and then that unraveled. So that was the first day I met Alex and Butch and everyone. And to be quite honest, I had just moved back in December. So to be quite honest, in that meeting, everybody sitting around the table talking about strategy, and I was like looking up people's LinkedIn profile to see who they were, because I didn't know who they were, but we realized quickly that if you remember that weekend, Nashville and New Orleans and some others were kind of trending about, everybody was still gathering downtown and this pandemic's brewing. So they decided to create the health order to establish the task force and make the steps necessary. So I was asked to help Dr. Jahanger, and 2 years later, we were still working together. So I worked with him directly on the daily communications. One of the early things that the mayor tasked us with is, we need to be transparent, because people are going to worry. So that was one of the things that Dr. Jahanger, Alex really embraced. And we didn't turn down an interview. We did over 101 press conferences. So he went from really never doing anything with the media to, he had one of the local television stations had a camera set up in his office at his house so he could go live on the 10 o'clock news. So he went from being a Vanderbilt trauma surgeon to this public figure pretty quickly. And so we had a little part in helping him along the way.
So and who knew that it was going to take over your life for basically about a year, right?
Yeah, it was a little over a year. We did 101 press conferences, and it was, and it went through every wave of, early on the forecasts were that Nashville was going to need a supplemental hospital for Better Works, and we started working with the Corps of Engineers.
Yeah, where was that going to be?
That was going to be the Music City Center.
Okay.
We actually started actually the plan started the Corps of Engineers. There's a lot of meetings. Luckily, it panned out that wasn't an issue, so we were able to.
But didn't they do some in the parking garage at Vanderbilt?
Yeah, I think Vanderbilt had that.
That was just them, though. That was not city government.
It was their response, and then the thinking was we may need something like that in Nashville. If you remember, New York had the hospital ships, and they had a lot of things, and so we were planning for that, and luckily that was not needed. But the task force was able to flip that around and turn the Music City Center into the vaccination place. So that evolved. We're also able to ramp up quickly the 3 testing centers. Hats off to Meharry. They stepped in and provided a lot of the support for all 3 testing centers. All the hospitals came together and worked, and that was kind of a not being in that world. I guess that's kind of unique to have all the hospitals working together when they've been competing. So that was great to see when they all came together. We started the 3 testing centers, then those turned into vaccination centers. But yeah, the 3. So a lot of activity. One thing I say about the pandemic was I didn't get the pandemic experience like everybody else because I still had to go into work and do all that every day. I still haven't seen an episode of Tiger King.
Well, so, my goodness.
I don't think, but so when you talk to other people about their pandemic experience, ours was different. But Dr. Jahanger was, like I say, he was probably he was the right person for that job. I mean, he's just able to really focus on the data coming in, looking at the data, getting the right experts on board.
I think that he and I can't think of the gentleman's name from Meharry,
Dr. Hildreth.
Yeah, and Dr. Schaefer from Vanderbilt.
Exactly.
Those 3 right there, I think, gave common sense updates on a regular basis, and in your office and what you did with Finn Partners at the time helped package that to where it was digestible by the general public.
Yeah, Nashville is very lucky to have Dr. Hildreth and Dr. Two well-known, worldwide well-known epidemiologists in the city, and we had them. Dr. Hildreth was actually on. He was named. The Trump administration named him to the FDA advisory council during that too. So that was that was a resource that we had and was great. But yeah, I think that the key was we got it down to 8 key metrics, and we just set the criteria of if these metrics were red, the city does this. And the key part is if the metrics improved, we went back. It wasn't like we put something in and it stayed. We really let the metrics drive the decisions and stayed very transparent about here are the, every day we went through the eight metrics. Here's where they're at. Here's what that means. Color coded and all that. But, really stuck to that throughout the whole thing. And I think that's what helped keep everybody informed. Not everybody was happy with the decisions, but at least you saw here's why that decision was made. Well, and that goes back to the first marching order you guys got was to be transparent about it. And in the process, you and Dr. Jahangir have become the new comedy team or something. I mean, have become good friends and do some public friends. Yeah, kind of publicly pick at each other a little bit. Well, no, that's just one-sided. Oh, okay. I didn't write a book. That's right. He did write the book. He has a book, Hot Spots, that has come out, and so he I was behind the scenes, but he still took a point to have a good-natured jab at me. Talked about my premature white hair, so that's fine. But you're like me. I don't care what it turns as long as it doesn't turn loose. That's exactly, right. Exactly. But but Dr. Jahangir and I really just through that created a close bond. Also worked with Director Chief Swan, great guy. Worked with him a lot. To a lot of folks over at the Office of Emergency Management, because that's where we start our day out there every morning. So built some close bonds through that. But Dr. Jahangir and I are still close. I talked to him on Sunday. Told him I was going to make fun of him today. So. Maybe he's listening. But, if not, he can hear, and anybody can catch the podcast later on WGNSradio.com. The one thing is we kind of wrap it up in our final 3 minutes or so. The one thing that has come out when you talk about the situation with the Waffle House in Antioch, where you had a tragic situation that just happened, and you had to handle the crisis immediately, and then the pandemic, and not that, I mean, who could ever plan for that? Yeah. But once you got into it and you had your systems and your metrics in place, the thing that keeps coming up to me is from any business owner, whether you have one employee yourself or you have 5,000 employees, the importance of being proactive and having plans and systems in place to where you know what's going to happen if something happens. Plan for the worst, hope for the best. Exactly. And we work with a lot of companies on crisis plans, and some are big binders, some are, I'll be quite honest, the Waffle House crisis plan probably was on 3 pages, just because you can't plan for everything, but you kind of know the key things. And so, we work with some companies and do tabletop exercises, and all that is great to learn too, because, really you can do all the pre-planning, but typically every crisis is different, and you have to adjust and have to be flexible and be ready to adjust and adapt to what's going on. And it comes in waves. And until you're out of it on the other side, you don't really know what all you're going to have to do. And that's the other key thing is don't lose the lesson. So after you get through a crisis, sit down and document everything you did. What would you do different? And that helps you for the next one, because the next one's going to happen at some point, be big or small. So afterwards, it's important to kind of sit down and reflect and figure out, we called it the after action at Waffle House, but it's key to do that. Yep. Well, when Pat was in college, he was a student athletic trainer. So I'm sure you're getting excited about the season. We're, about 50 days away. I know. I can't wait. That's one of the fun things coming back home. I get to reunite with a lot of my old trainer buddies, John Murray Lynch and Alex Wiggs, Paul Cole. Kevin Wolf. So get to see them at some things now. So we're all kind of grayer and slower, but in our minds we're still 20.
Absolutely. Pat, glad to have you and your family back in the area, and appreciate the time today and talk about some of the things that behind the scenes on, especially with the Waffle House situation and what was going on in Nashville during the pandemic. It was kind of eye-opening for folks, I think, but appreciate the time today.
All right. Thanks, Chip. Good talking with you.
All right. Pat Warner of Finn Partners in Nashville has been our guest. Dave Gober next week, movies and mortgages during that conversation. And Brian Barrett is next. Have a great day. Blue Raider Blitz stopped today in Smyrna at the Smyrna Town Center for lunch. Hope to see you there.